Goodbye, F1 2017. We've had some fun, we've had some good times, but now it is time to say goodbye. You can see right there how much time I've spent playing this game. 14 days, 16 hours, and 39 minutes. And as well, on PC I've done like another 200 hours there, so that's like an extra 10 days. But yeah, you can see that's a comparison between me and all of my other friends who are mainly league racers on this game. That is a lot of time spent on a single game in a 1 year period. But guys, this is it. This is the last video on F1 2017. It's been a pretty eventful ride, I'm not going to lie. This race in particular is, yeah, just one last send-off. We're doing a 100% race around the Belgian Grand Prix. We're doing full qualifying as well. And this is kind of like in conjunction with the ending of SRL. So this was done the Friday after SRL finished. And yeah, we just thought we'd have some fun. Haven't really done a 100% race in a very long time, if at all, on this game. So something a little bit different. And I know for certain we have not done a full online qualifying session ever. So I felt like this would be a really good way to close things off. We've got pretty much all of the league races from, I'd say, SRL and AOR all joining together. And yeah, we're going to have some fun. So sit back, relax, enjoy. I also have a live stream of this event as well. So if you want to check out the full live stream, I'll leave a link in the description. It was on my Twitch. So twitch.tv/Tiametmarduk. We had AOR Charlie, who was commentating the race. He did qualifying as well. It was like a 2.5 hour, 3 hour event. And Charlie did the commentating for the entire thing. What an absolute champion. He did that all by himself. My voice would have been wrecked after 15 minutes, and he did it for 3 hours. Unbelievable scenes. But qualifying 1, we breezed through that pretty easily. I was actually having my dinner while that was happening, so it was a pretty cruisy first qualifying session. A few people actually hadn't turned up yet because we started this event like 45 minutes early, just because it's a 100% race and it could take a while, so we started early. And so some people were joining as the qualifying session was going on, just before the race started. So yeah, getting through Q1 was pretty easy. Q2, we had some rain, so intermediate conditions. It started off as inters, but then 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes into the session, the rain, as you can see, is completely dried up. We're setting our time on the inters. We go P5, some 1.1 seconds off the pace. But by the time I set my lap, it was pretty much bone dry. So that was pretty much that lap. We returned back to the pit lane. We're going to go out again on a set of dry tyres. We're going to qualify on the super soft tyres because it'll mean we can do an easy one stop in this Grand Prix. And we don't have to stop so early on the ultra soft tyres at Spa, which the Ultras is a really bad race tyre. So we'll see how it goes here as we start our final lap here. We were the last one to cross the line, so effectively we should get the best of the conditions here. But it doesn't really matter too much. We're just trying to make sure we secure our place into Q3. So going through here, a lot of these high-speed corners, this is the first time in the session that we were doing it in the dry. So there's a bit of confidence that was lacking, I would say. A bit of hesitation at some points. Like Puana hesitated a little bit, didn't know entirely what the grip was, but we're still pushing on quite hard here. Purple to the middle sector split. We're a 10th down on whoever is in pole position at the moment, but that lap is, that marker is going to continue to be shifted as people cross the line. Ryan just went to the top after being in P11, no less, as he completed his lap. V Fens is in P11 as well. I imagine he's going to improve, or should do. That is not where he wants to be qualifying. We're P13. Across the line, an improvement of 14.4 seconds gets us in P4, and crucially into the final part of qualifying. So we had Fens knocked out, Mitchie, that laggy person. HO was knocked out as well, and one other person who I didn't quite catch there. So we're on to Q3 now. This is where it all matters. It actually took a really long time to get through all of these sessions. I think qualifying went on for like 45 minutes, even though we ended Q1 early because it started raining halfway through Q1. But here we go. We're going to have 2 runs on ultra soft tyres. Rain sets the pace there on a 1 minute 43.8. A really good time will be a 42. That'll be pole, I'd say. and everyone just continuing to lower the mark at the moment. Dominator setting the pace at the moment. I think it was a 43.5. Ryan has now gone to the top on a 143.3. We crossed the line with a 43.7. So, an okay lap. It's actually not that good, really. We're a second off the pace. We had a massive moment going through Ocon on the last lap, and that really cost us some time. But as we return to the pit lane now, you can see I've drastically underfueled the car. Yeah, just didn't put enough fuel in the car, and we had to go in limp mode back to the pit lane. So that cost me a little bit of time, but overall, we're still going to get out there and do one final run. So here we go, P4. We do have that banker on the books, so at least we can push a little bit on this lap. To be honest, I'm not really that bothered about qualifying. We've got through to Q3. We're starting on the middle compound tyre, so really our race is pretty much already set up. So from here, we're just looking to bang in an absolute belter. But got a terrible run through turn 1, lost 2 tenths, and now we have to make up that margin in the middle and third sector. There's a lot of time left on the table in these 2 sectors of the Grand Prix remaining, but that is a track extend, and that is our lap over. But I decided to press on anyway, pretty much flat out through Buon, and you can just see right there, that was all the time we needed to gain. That's like 3 tenths right there. What could have been, and as well, we stuffed up turn 1, like I said, so there's another 2 tenths at least in this lap. But I decided to press on. I knew like we could have been right up there, challenging for pole potentially. But yeah, it just wasn't to be. Jared now creeps into the 42, so a great job from him there. Ryan, on this lap in particular, I think he made a mistake as well on this lap, so he's not going to improve. And Warden, I don't know what's happened to Warden on this lap in this session. I just don't think he was on the pace in this qualifying session. We go through the final bus stop chicane, open the DRS, we improve by 6 tenths. So with that and the 2 tenths we lost at turn 1, that could have been pole, or thereabouts, something like that. But there you go, we're still somehow in 4th place, so really we didn't lose any ground there, so that was... I don't know how that happened. I really thought we were going to get knocked down in the field a little bit more than that, but we were very, very lucky in that standing. So here we are for the race, 100% race, 44 laps. When it comes to the 100% races, you actually can't overfuel the car that much. We're at max fuel, 105 kilos, and we're only going to have a lap and a half of fuel to play with. So fuel management in this one is going to be quite important. And I feel like that's something that's going to be in my favour, I would say. But here we go, 5 red lights, and away we go for the Belgian Grand Prix. 100% race, last one on F1 2017. Let's make it a good one. Into turn 1, going around the outside of a couple of guys. Someone has gone steaming into turn 1 and pushed us a bit wide, so we lost a couple of places there. One to Neon Trudeau, one to Fens, and potentially one to Warden as well, as he gets a really nice run up El Rouge. Side by side for the two of us. We're almost in the barrier there. Such is the momentum we... Well, that's race over, isn't it? 100% race. And the race is screwed on lap 1.
From Dominator, but Jared gets an even better start going into turn 1 now, nearly 3 wide between these guys. There's a Haas going straight down the inside there. I didn't actually see who that was. That was absolute carnage at the back. Tiametmarduk has actually been involved with that collision, but that is absolute. There was a lot of carbon fibre at the end of that. Tiametmarduk goes side by side with Warden 99. Ben has to really be careful there, cuts the corner completely, and he's smashed, and he's actually lost his whole front wing there, and Ben has crashed out of this Belgian Grand Prix, and looks like that is basically his race over.
Unbelievable, man. A 2-hour race, and people are jostling for position like that in the first 3 corners. Not hit off once, not twice, 3 times in the first 30 seconds of the race. Our race is screwed, and now we've got an illegal overtake on that guy. So that's great. Red front wing. If there is anyone who is going to get taken out on the first lap, you know it's going to be me, and I'm going to end up absolutely stuffed because of it. So, we finally get to the pit lane on the end of lap 1. I don't know what to say, honestly. Like, 45 minutes of build-up and you get that, and now we've got to carry on for another 2 hours at the back. And there's no safety car as well. There is no safety car. So any chance of winning this race is just out the window. There's no recovering from that. We are half a lap behind at Spa, which at a normal circuit is a lap down. 20 seconds off the nearest car. 20 seconds. We've got a lot of work to do. So I wasn't going to give up. That was far from the equation. We had you know, a lot of people in the Twitch chat watching, so you know, didn't want to let them down. I was still going to press on with the race anyway, but yeah, it's just not what you want to deal with. But I mean, yeah, if you were watching the live stream, you know, full credit to you guys for sticking it out and watching the whole thing despite my scenario, I suppose. Yeah, like I said, the link to the Twitch live stream will be down in the description. I'm going to start streaming a whole lot more, but we're 11 laps into this Grand Prix now. Honestly, nothing has happened up until this point. Is that Matt is the first one to make a pit stop. He went on to fresh, super soft tyres, and he rejoined just behind me. So he was, at that point of the race, a bit quicker than me, so I decided to let him go. And the funny thing around Spa is just letting a car go is actually beneficial for you, because I stuck in the slipstream. I, you know, pikeyed his DRS, and I was able to save fuel at the same time, so he was pulling me along at a fast rate or not, so I was quite enjoying that at that point. But I think I stuck behind him for a couple of laps, and then it got to a point where I was like, okay, we're getting into a crunch point in the Grand Prix now. Everyone on their supers are starting to feel the effects of tyre wear now. People are starting to pit, so I want to get on with my race now and put the pressure on. So that's what I'm doing to Matt here. Purple to the first sector in the slipstream and DRS. We're using rich fuel mixture now, and we're trying to put him under pressure. Someone has spun out there. That is Owens. Looks like he might have got taken out there. He is not moving from that stationary position. Up the inside, a bit tight there. I had to mount the curb, lost the back end a little bit, and that completely killed our momentum on that mat there. So yeah, just have to bide our time for the moment. But we are catching a couple of people who have just made their stops. I believe it's Penske, and also I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. We're going up the inside here, on the back straight here into Radion. Is that Radion? No, it's Blanchimont. Good thing I remembered. It's Mitchie and Penske. We're going round the outside of this guy. This was actually quite the entertaining battle. We just get the move done there. We had to squeeze him out a little bit, but it was forceful. We had to get that move done. I was faster when I wanted to push, and at this point I wanted to push because we were coming up to some traffic and I wanted to be the first in the queue to get through it. So up the inside of Mitchie, job done. Just very crucial not to get stuck behind in traffic. We're already a long way off the pace versus the leaders. We don't need to fall even further behind in this Grand Prix. But in the slipstream of Penske, here we go. That was so easy. Up the inside, I think he was running a lot more downforce than me because I came from a long way back to get the move done there. He has a little think about the up the inside into the bus stop chicane, but in the end there he doesn't quite have the grip under him that I do, and we get P13 in the Grand Prix. So yeah, at this point I was on my own again, but this time I have to make my own pace. Can't rely on other people to give me some slipstream, and we were making hay while the sun was shining. It wasn't shining for very long because then the rain started to hit, and when it did hit, it was coming down quite hard. So in terms of the race forecast, it was dry for like half the race, then the inters were going to come, and then there was a really heavy wet rain spell that was only going to stick around for a short amount of time, and then it was going to go dry again for the ending of the race. So we're thinking here it's going to go straight to wet conditions. So yeah, we're having to make the decision of do we go inters or do we go full wets straight away, but we'll have to wait and see. Neon Trudome had a moment there in the middle sector. This is the point in the Grand Prix where maybe people were starting to lose a bit of concentration. Their tyres were really starting to go off, especially those guys on the super soft tyres. And now with the rain coming down, it was just a recipe for disaster. People were going off left, right and centre, and this was a portion of the Grand Prix where I made up so much time on the guys inside the top 10. A couple of people had just passed the pit lane, so they weren't able to respond and go straight onto intermediate tyres because the rain just fell down so quickly. It went from nothing to full intermediates in 30 seconds. I'm not even joking. So yeah, some of the leaders, I think Jared and also Fens had to stay out a lap. Ryan made a bold strategy of stopping when it wasn't quite wet enough, but he made the perfect call there and got into the lead of the Grand Prix. And now we're settling in quite nicely. You can see we're sandwiching between two guys who are on full wet, so a few people overreacting possibly, anticipating really heavy rain, but it's not quite here yet, and you can see there's a sizable difference between the intermediates and the wets in these conditions. Clean around the outside of Exodona there, and that is us inside the top 9 now. So yeah, there was a whole lot of nothing for about 15 laps, and then as soon as the pit stops came around, it all came up Millhouse pretty much. But yeah, this section of the Grand Prix now was quite difficult. There was not much grip around. Most of these corners in the dry, you know, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Like El Rouge, for example, normally, like, you look at this, it's normally flat out in the dry. But in the wets, it is the complete opposite. You got to lift off through there, and every time you go through there, it feels like you're literally on ice. And as such, there's a huge risk and reward, and more often than not, I was not really getting the reward. I kept on stuffing up that run through El Rouge and just getting a slight cut or a slight extend here or there, and I started to rack up a few warnings and even penalties over the course of the Grand Prix. So now we've caught up to Dominator, who was on wet tyres, still trying to stick it out there. He actually spins off our car there, despite not actually making contact on my screen. Gets a deflection off us and loses part of his front wing, and unfortunately he retires from the Grand Prix. So a bit unfortunate there. Dominator made the wrong choice there with the wets. It looks like it's only just starting to get to wet weather now, but he just couldn't stick it out long enough, but he retires from the Grand Prix. And it looks like that's a bit of a trend. As soon as I get near anyone, or if they get overtaken by me, it's like, alright, that's it, that's the give up point. Ben's had a really
Weather should improve in 10 minutes time, like rain in 10 minutes.
Ben's had a really bad race, and if I'm behind him, then that's it, that's the final straw. I should quit. That's what it felt like for me. And so it made my finishing position kind of look worse, because I was still towards the back despite overtaking a lot of cars. Only 13 people left in this Grand Prix. But lap 30 now, we're getting to the crunch time of the Grand Prix. It's now heavy rain. Like you can see, we got the message from Jeff, 10 minutes to go before we get light rain once again. And that was actually me for the first time in the Grand Prix, going flat through El Rouge. This time though, not quite the case, had to lift off again. So yeah, that was one advantage I felt like I had over some of the pad users. We were able to go much more aggressive into El Rouge, but I was biting the bullet a whole lot more. V Fens is now retired from the Grand Prix. So again, I was actually catching Fens, and then he retires. Now Rain is retired from the GP.
Who else? Who else should we do? So we've got New Zealand Ryan. Oh, was that a bit of a collision? I think I heard a bit of a collision. Yeah, that was excellent. What are these guys doing? Oh, okay, they've just been pile drive. Rain has been taken out from this. I don't know what these Sauber drivers are trying to do here. Well, they're just taking out Rain 96 from this Grand Prix.
Okay, so maybe I slated the other guys for retiring intentionally. That was certainly not intentional from Rain there. He's been the victim of a couple of lap cars trying to let each other through, I'm not too sure, and then he's come in all guns blazing while the other guys are in a car park, and unfortunately lost his wheel there. Very unfortunate for him. We get another time penalty for us in this race. I believe that's our third time penalty, but to be honest, it doesn't matter because the gap behind me is absolutely substantial. 1 minute and 52 seconds back to the nearest car, who was Exodona, who is now Conrad Strait, so the gap is even more now probably. But we're cutting on board to the action now from the stream. This is Master Berserk chasing down Warden, who seems to be struggling in these conditions. Don't be fooled, Warden is on intermediate tyres. That is just a glitch though, so good to see that these two guys are squabbling quite hard for position. One spot off the podium, and it doesn't look like they're going to topple HO in this one. Speaking of toppling, that is Warden spinning around Master Berserk there. Unfortunate for those guys, they're going to lose a whole bucket load of time in the dying laps of this Grand Prix. So DRS has been enabled. It's time for dry tyres. Will be coming in at the end of this lap, and with those incidents that Warden and Master Berserk were having, it allowed me to catch up so much to the point where that's Warden right there in the pit lane. We've now moved up into P5. despite being 30 seconds back, I still don't know how I made up that much time. How is it physically possible that they lost that much time on that one lap? From what I heard, one of them slowed up for each other and then they had another crash. And then Warden spun on the way into the pit lane, as well as a front wing change. So, yeah, Warden having an absolute shocker, and he spun it even a few more times after I got past him. So, there we go. P5, Master Berserk is a long way up the road. There's no way we can topple him in this Grand Prix. And as it's the last lap, we're going to see if we can go for the fastest lap. We were finally on the dry tyres, on ultra soft tyres, and we're going to see if we can justify our pace that we've been almost chasing all day. I never quite nailed it in qualifying, not legally anyway, but now we have fast tyres on. We were compromised at the start of the race, like you guys saw, running on the soft compound tyres. We were slower than everyone because of that tyre choice. Now we're on equal tyres with other people. Ryan set a 1 minute 45.8 as he wins the Grand Prix. Man, he's won by a long way versus us. Almost a lap down for us, but we're going to see if we can topple Ryan's time and, yeah, just kind of justify the pace that we have. That's a massive tank slapper through Puon, so really hanging it out on the line here on this last lap, just trying to get that fastest one. I know it doesn't mean anything, but it certainly does to me through this middle sector now. This is all really great when you got fresh tyres on. It feels absolutely amazing, especially after the grind that we've been doing on the soft compound tyres at the start of the race on really heavy fuel, and then intermediate tyres. Now we feel like we've got just absolute grip for days, and we are making the absolute most of it. Really close to the limit on fuel as well. I had to be really careful with how much rich mixture I use, but looks like we might just about get away with that into the final bus stop chicane, and that will be our Grand Prix around Spa. Rich revs up to the line, and it is fastest lap. Just about fastest lap of the Grand Prix, 1 minute 45.1. I don't know where that stands up against the other guys. I don't really think it's too relevant, but we got the fastest lap in the end there, and that's all that matters. So, P5, I'll take it. Congrats to Ryan for the win on that one. He was certainly on the back foot early days. You won't see this from my video, but DRC, Jared, and Fens had the early ascendancy in that one. And they kind of just let it slip, albeit through incidents or just the wrong strategy, and Ryan was able to get there in the end there. So congrats to him. Also, good job from Jared to get P2. H.O. on the podium as well. Forgot to mention him. He's really quick at Spa. He had a pretty quiet race by the looks of it. Master Berserk P4, losing a lot of time. He actually came from P19 to P4. And then, of course, us, P4, down to last by 30 seconds. And then back up to P5. So I'll take it. I will absolutely take that. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more racing game content. In terms of other 100% races, I might do another one on F1 2018, something very similar to this. And I'll see if I can stream it on my Twitch. So we'll have to wait and see. Keep an eye out for that. Thanks to Charlie as well for commentating. I'll leave a link to his Twitter or his YouTube down in the description. Check out my Twitch as well. I'm going to be streaming a whole lot more. But that's it from me today. That's it for F1 2017. See you on the next game.